Chapter 10, Editing and Splicing.
A minute ago you mentioned cutting out parts from the tape, and just now you mentioned inserting blank leader tape in a reel. How do you do this? Can you cut your tape apart without damage?
Well, that's one of the nice things about tape, Bob. You can splice it back together again after cutting it apart, or if it accidentally breaks, and it's just as good as ever. You know what happens when you break a phonograph record, you buy a new one. But tape is a lot different. When it breaks or is cut, just butt the ends together, seal them with a little bit of splicing tape, and take it from there. Doesn't affect the sound, and the tape is as strong and durable as though it never happened.
Well, that's easy enough. Just patch it together with cellophane tape.
No, sir. I said splicing tape.
Is there a difference?
You bet there is. Splicing tape is a special tape made expressly for joining recording tape. It has a hard adhesive, which will not become sticky and bleed as it grows older. Bob, regular cellophane tape is made for sticking such things together as paper. This kind of tape needs a soft, sticky adhesive, and eventually it will bleed out around the edges. Now, if you were to use this kind of tape for splicing, eventually the adhesive would ooze out over the other layers on the reel, and they would stick together. When this happens, it causes a jerky motion as the tape comes off the reel, and you're going to have wow and flutter in your recording. On top of this, the adhesive will deposit on the heads and collect dirt and grit. So, make the decision right now to never use anything other than regular splicing tape. Now, editing is nothing more than cutting out specific recorded sections from the tape. It's just the same as editing a movie film. By editing, you cut out parts that you don't want, such as radio commercials, or you can arrange the sequence of selections. Do you know that professional editors can actually cut the S sound off of a plural word and make it singular? Or even insert a single note in a musical rendition?
Well, if you hadn't told me, I'd say it was impossible. How in the world would I ever find the exact spot to cut?
You'd be surprised how easy it is. Just play the tape through until you reach the part that you want to eliminate or remove. Then, stop the recorder with either the stop or the pause button. Then, use a China marking pencil and make a mark on the shiny side of the tape just where it emerges from the slot on the right of the recording head cover. See? That's right here at this point to the left of the tuning eye.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you cut the tape just 3 inches behind, or to the left, toward the supply reel. This is just about where the gap in the head was made when you stopped the tape. Now, if you want to be even more precise, remove the plastic head cover, as you do when you're cleaning the heads, and place your mark on the tape right at the pole piece on the recording head. Now, the next step is to play the tape on through until you reach the other end of the section that you want to remove. You repeat the same marking and cutting procedure, and then you join the 2 cut ends together with splicing tape.
Oh, should I cut the tape in any special way?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Bob, because there is a special way. You will get the strongest splice possible by cutting the tape at a 45-degree angle. This provides a longer contact area and makes for a much smoother transition from one piece of tape to the other. Listen. By making a good splice, it'll pass right over the heads as though it was never there. You can use either a razor blade or scissors for cutting, but be sure that the scissors aren't magnetized. If they are, the sound will be erased from that part of the tape where the scissor blades actually contacted it. It'll work just like the erase head. Probably the best idea would be to buy a tape splicer. They're inexpensive and they're worth their weight in gold. A regular tape splicer holds the tape in place, provides a cutting surface and the right cutting angle. It's a lot easier and it saves on the fingers too. An even better idea would be to get a VM K85 kit. This includes a splicer, splicing tape, head cleaner, polishing cloth, and even labels for your tape identification. Oh, and Bob, one thing to remember. If you are editing, you can only edit 1-track recordings. By that, I mean a tape with a single track of recorded material on it. If there is more than 1 recorded track on the tape, for example, all 4 tracks, when you cut through the tape to remove a section of track 1, you're also removing sections of the other 3 tracks. And this you don't want to do.
Well, how do I get around it?
Bob, the only way I know is to duplicate that 1 track that you want to edit by re-recording it on another tape recorder. Then you'll have your single track and you can edit all you want to. The best bet is, where you know you'll have to edit, make a single track recording.
Well, I can see where editing can really make the difference between a good and just average or poor recording.
It certainly can, Bob. Here's a good example of a tape that needs editing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is great pleasure for me to address you this evening.
To listen to an entire speech this way would drive you to tears. If we edit the same speech, it comes out like this.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to address you this evening.
That certainly makes a tremendous difference, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, Bob. And knowing how to use and take care of your recorder can only add to the pleasure of owning it.